Hello YouTube, Film Buff 06 here, coming your way with a special brief back-to-back, or rather collective review of the two recent hour-long televised Christmas specials, courtesy of the 21st Century Answer to Monty Python, known as the Mischief Theatre Company, consisting of founders Jonathan Sayers and Henry's Lewis and Shields, Peter Pan Goes Wrong and A Christmas Carol Goes Wrong, which were both televisual spin-offs of the MTC's first two theatrical productions, The Play That Goes Wrong, which by the way was co-produced on Broadway by none other than J.J. Abrams himself, and the comedy about a bank robbery, both of which won them numerous theatre awards, including only 2 Oliviers, were both respectively broadcast on BBC One on New Year's Eve 2016 and New Year's Eve 2017, were both filmed in Pinewood Studios, which, by the way, one of my loyal subscribers, Harry Thomas of Harry Thomas Pictures, was fortunate enough towards the end of last year to visit as part of a week-long movie course, feature the likes of David Suchet, Sir Derek Jacobi, and Dame Diana Rigg, and basically are both plays within plays, adapted from 2 classic children's novels, which of course in this case are Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie and A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, in which everything that could go wrong with an attempted live theatrical stage production by this fictional, amateurish, unfortunately incompetent and accident-prone Monty Python-esque dramatic theatre troupe known as the Cornley Polytechnic Drama Society, who attempt and fail to put their own unique spin on the classic characters that everyone knows and loves, including Peter Pan himself, Captain Hook, Ebenezer Scrooge, and Bob Cratchit, does indeed go disastrously, epically, and spectacularly wrong, with hilarious results. For example, bits of scenery falling down, props falling down, malfunctioning and or being misplaced, doors slamming, woeful attempts to cover up mistakes, stagehands walking into shot, stages and or floors collapsing, doors sticking, costumes going on fire, temperamental lighting, faulty green screen effects, hilariously awful acting and or singing like something out of Batman and Robin or the 2006 remake of The Wicker Man with Nicolas Cage, or even The Room. Actors missing their cues, accidentally getting electrocuted, breaking character, mispronouncing words, forgetting and or fluffing up their lines, disputing with each other on and off stage, falling off of windows and or on top of each other, getting seriously injured, being knocked unconscious and or coming on stage at the wrong times, audiences universally laughing at the complete ineptitude of the production, etc. So, what are my brief thoughts on both Peter Pan Goes Wrong and A Christmas Carol Goes Wrong? Well, I may not have been familiar at first with the play that goes wrong or the comedy about a bank robbery until fairly recently, nor do I personally remember going out to see all three of these shows in the West End. But coming from someone who has been extremely desperate for a little laugh riot and honestly a bit of a light relief to distract me from all of the dark and uncertain political bullshit that's going on around the world today, namely Brexit, international terror attacks from the satanic scumbags known as ISIS, Theresa May, quite frankly, proving herself to us on an almost daily basis to be even more of a fucking weak Prime Minister than her predecessor David Cameron. And of course the Antichrist in chief that is Donald Trump, continuing to spew out some of the most terrifying and divisive bullshit you could ever imagine. Either the White House or his fucking Twitter account. These have got to be two of the absolute funniest programs I have ever seen. And I'm being completely dead serious, guys. Words just genuinely cannot begin to describe how much I literally killed myself, burst my guts out, and kept crying with laughter whilst watching both shows from beginning to end. And this is actually the first time I have ever experienced a feeling like that since I went to see the first Deadpool movie a couple of years ago. For me, what easily makes these two specials work is obviously the brilliantly well-timed slapstick / physical comedy from all the MTC members, which not only gives a fresh and unique spin on these two classic children's stories that have pretty much been told to death throughout the years. Not only like Michael Frayne's Noises Off before them, brilliantly sends up the intriguing and rather relatable concept that these sort of theatrical stage productions are being produced by humans instead of robots, and that there is always going to be an awful lot of chaos and mistakes to be made and obstacles being hurled straight in your direction faster than you realise during the last few stages of preparation that you will personally have to gradually try your damnedest to overcome and improve upon in order to give the best performance that you possibly can on the night, not only surprises the hell out of me for the most part, even when I think I already know what the hell is going to happen. Not only feels like a nostalgic throwback to not just the good old glory days of Monty Python, but also to the great masters of classic silent film comedy, such as W.C. Fields, Harold Lloyd, Laurel and Hardy, Buster Keaton, and especially Charlie Chaplin, but also had me literally laughing my arse off every single minute from beginning to end. And the troupe's hapless, ill-judged, and doomed determination, desperation, and persistence to continue performing these shows, even regardless of all the insane shit that constantly happens around them, and despite the obvious fact that they have no real professional expertise whatsoever when it comes to making a stage production, is hysterically priceless and entertaining as hell to watch, and almost pretty much makes me feel like I'm watching two classic episodes of Fawlty Towers, except set in the modern day as opposed to the mid-1970s, especially when you take into consideration the fact that Henry Shields as Chris, the troupe's director and head honcho, looks almost remarkably like John Cleese as Basil Fawlty back in the day, whereas the rest of the troupe are very much like his Pollys or Manuels, who know they are completely out of their depths and constantly put themselves in all sorts of physical danger, even whilst at the same time being dictated to by such an odious, pompous, pretentious, self-righteous, self-promoting prick who obviously doesn't have a freaking clue what he's doing, and yet doesn't seem to care about the consequences anyway. David Suchet, Sir Derek Jacobi, Dame Diana Rigg and co. all delightfully ham up their performances and effortlessly embrace the silly, ridiculous, awkward in all the best ways, over the top, not to be taken too seriously, pantomimic and light-hearted nature of both productions with aplomb. And of the big-name guest stars, David Suchet especially has an opportunity to briefly poke fun at his iconic TV portrayal of Hercule Poirot, plus the cameos towards the end of Peter Pan Goes Wrong from a BBC News reporter, the Eggheads crew, and especially Laa-Laa and Po out of the Teletubbies were just freaking awesome. While there is no doubt that I did enjoy A Christmas Carol Goes Wrong as much as Peter Pan Goes Wrong, What unfortunately makes it an ever so slight step down from Peter Pan Goes Wrong, in my opinion, other than the flimsier premise, the admittedly more obvious and unsurprising jokes, and the seemingly less plausible and more predictable fuck-ups that are deliberately made, largely due to it being specially written just for TV as opposed to for the stage, is the reliance it seems to have on you having already watched Peter Pan Goes Wrong beforehand, which in all honesty might have worked perfectly fine with me personally as a relatively new viewer, because I actually did watch Peter Pan Goes Wrong almost immediately beforehand, and therefore did already know everything that happened in that particular program. But at the same time, it is quite problematic and hurts the production a little bit, because if I was to do the exact opposite of what I did and just decided to automatically go into A Christmas Carol Goes Wrong without having actually seen Peter Pan Goes Wrong firsthand, and without any real knowledge whatsoever of anything that happened in that particular program, not only would I be left pretty damn confused as hell, but I would also be left questioning who the CPDS are, how they operate, why they have such a notorious reputation as far as the BBC are concerned for being sheer incompetence, why the BBC have officially put a restraining order on them doing any more televised theatrical stage productions, and what the CPDS's motivations are for going against the BBC's rules, hijacking their planned live theatrical production of A Christmas Carol, abducting the original cast, including Sir Derek Jacobi himself, and doing their damnedest to try and cover up the total pig's ear that they end up making of it anyway, and blatantly failing spectacularly at doing so. In conclusion, all I have really got left to say about both Peter Pan Goes Wrong and A Christmas Carol Goes Wrong is that while I wouldn't quite go as far as to call both of them a couple of TV comedy masterpieces like Fawlty Towers or Only Fools and Horses, just to name a few, I still had a genuinely great time laughing my arse off whilst watching them. They are a brilliant nostalgic homage to old school Monty Python, as well as to the classic silent film comedies of the past, by such an extremely promising comedy trope in the shape of the MTC, who all seem to know how to pull off great slapstick / physical comedy effectively without taking themselves too seriously or being too pretentious. I honestly cannot wait to see what the heck they're going to come up with next for their planned TV series. That is, if the BBC decides to greenlight it. I cannot recommend enough that you go and check out both of these two specials either on YouTube or Daily Motion if this style of slapstick / physical comedy is your thing, if you are familiar with both Peter Pan and A Christmas Carol, or if you are a parent and just want to have a great time with your kids in the living room for approximately under a couple of hours of one evening during the festive season, watching two theatrical productions disastrously and hilariously fall apart in front of your eyes. And my overall rating for Peter Pan Goes Wrong is going to be 9 out of 10. And as for A Christmas Carol Goes Wrong, is going to be 8.5 out of 10. Now, feel free to leave a comment in the section below, and please let me know your individual thoughts on both Peter Pan Goes Wrong and A Christmas Carol Goes Wrong. Plus, feel free to subscribe to my channel as always, as well as go to my channel page and click on the little bell so that you get all of the notifications and updates from my channel via email. And also, if you haven't already, please don't forget to join my Facebook group page, as well as follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And until my next video, which is going to be my review for the most recent ITV drama miniseries that aired just early this week with Adrian Lester and John freaking Sim Trauma. Do take care, everyone. And thank goodness this review absolutely, positively did not go wrong.